Alright, the GTA 6 leaks have not stopped. Something I want to mention real fast is that an article got posted about a possible dead man switch that the leaker may have, which would release GTA 6 if he didn't manually stop it every day. And it got covered by Charlie, and just given his reach, you can see it got so many views in a few hours. That story ended up being fake. You can see the author of the article apologized and Insider Gaming themselves retracted it. And so Charlie did the right thing and unlisted his video. And I just wanted to bring that up because while it makes a great story, it just wasn't true. Now, as a quick recap before we get into all the new stuff, the leaks began on August 18th and there was 2 videos and a map. They continued on August 19th and the 20th with 4 videos. One of the videos was very special because he shot LEEK into the wall, and he spelled it with 2 E's, which is how he spells his name, CyberLeak, which I was trying to make a conscious effort and not spreading around, but it's literally like the biggest news in gaming right now. Everybody knows the name. So it was essentially an in-engine signature. It was confirmed he has cutscenes, or at least some, because he was able to cherry pick a very specific one to poke and jab at Rockstar. And so the belief was that he has some sort of build of the game. Rockstar began DMCA takedowns silently, and there was no official word from them at all. Now, I wanted to put this in the beginning because it's kind of a huge piece of information, at least probably for Rockstar, but it turns out a month ago, someone went to this subreddit and said, August 18th, don't ask me how I know. If you don't believe me, come back on that date and we will see. And this is obviously incredibly relevant because everything started on August 18th. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitter. And in the replies to that thread, someone already responded saying how. I guess this was yesterday. And Pilot X 1970 said, it's not about what you know, but rather about who you know. Smiley face. And so the other guy asked if he knew CyberLeak all along, and Pilot responds that he's a friend of a friend. Now, at the time of making this, both of these Reddit threads are deleted, and I just don't know what some people are thinking. If anything, this was probably a post to put on 4chan, not Reddit. Another big talking point about this whole thing is the fact that they've been selling exclusive access. It apparently costs about $160,000 to request your own clips. I'm not exactly sure what you can really request, but apparently that's a thing. So this means there's pretty big money involved, which usually means there's a higher risk of getting caught. I mean, it's hard to do big transactions like this without getting caught, and it definitely has a much bigger penalty if you are caught, but it turns out CyberLeak might not be your average hacker, or hackers, who knows, because they have a very elaborate scheme set up here. And this all comes from this French creator on Twitter. He's kind of a fucking detective over here. He says, I checked the CyberLeak website, the hacker behind GTA 6, and it's clearly not the work of an amateur. I'm convinced it's not just one person, but a full-fledged group of hackers. He goes on to explain how their system works in 2 steps. First, it generates a session account, secure, anonymous, and decentralized messaging, with a unique recovery phrase. This allows anyone wanting to reach out to have a disposable, end-to-end encrypted communication channel. Then it generates a Monero or XMR, donation amount, and anonymous cryptocurrency. Unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, its blockchain is private and transaction amounts are completely obfuscated. So no one can see how much you've sent, except the person holding the private key, which is CyberLeak. They ask for 400 XMR or about $165,000, but what's really fascinating are the figures after the decimal point. There are 12 decimal places generated alongside the session account, serving as a unique identifier. When you send exactly that amount, CyberLeak detects the transaction on the blockchain, extracts the decimals, recalculates the corresponding session ID, and reaches out to you. According to the site, it's purely mathematical, cryptographic, on the client side. The page generates a 12-digit ID mathematically linked to the session account. Since Monero hides amounts, only CyberLeak can decrypt the received amount and retrieve your session ID. No server-side storage of the ID is needed before payment. They also specify that you must absolutely send the funds from a personal wallet, and not from an exchange, or the decimals might get rounded, and they'll never be able to track you down. And he went on to explain more, which you can see in these screenshots here. Now, while I don't get exactly what he's saying here, like I don't know all the crypto stuff that he's talking about, I can recognize that this is an incredibly sophisticated system that seems almost impenetrable. I think this shows that there's been a lot of thought put into this by CyberLeak, and it was probably planned for a long time. And I really wonder if there is any crack in their system here. If Rockstar does find CyberLeak, I really do wonder what's going to be the domino that fell. More news that came out was when CyberLeak burned $1 million worth of his own token. Now, I gotta point out that this isn't actually $1 million. If he actually tried to sell all of this, it would cause a huge drop and you wouldn't get as much as it's showing that you would actually get, you know what I mean? And I think it was the plan all along to do this at $1 million just for drama, you know? As far as I know, they're still profiting from things like the transactions every time the coin is traded, the exclusive access they're selling for about $165,000, and apparently ad slots in future leaks, which I haven't seen anyone actually do yet, I guess, so this is kind of unconfirmed. Another thing that happened was 2 days ago, Jason Schreier posted this article to Bloomberg, titled "Rockstar Rattled as Grand Theft Auto 6 Leaks Again." After a leak in 2022, Rockstar took drastic measures to try and prevent another hack. It didn't work. The article goes on to give a whole bunch of backstory, which we've already gone over, but then it says Rockstar hasn't yet identified the leaker or figured out how the latest breach happened, according to a person familiar with its strategy, who spoke anonymously because they were not authorized to speak out about the situation. The company doesn't plan to move the gameplay premiere date or make any other immediate changes to its marketing strategy. Now, like I said, this is 2 days old and a lot can happen in 2 days, but literally 2 hours ago, as of recording this, there was another leak, so I don't think they found them yet. The article says, but inside, it's all hands on deck, as management tries to determine the leak's origins and track down the parties responsible. Rockstar's leaders and many employees are angry, not just because their game has become such a high-profile target, but also because this is the second time that GTA 6 has become the subject of a major leak. The first one led to big changes in how Rockstar handles security, and this incident might follow suit. And so this is basically assuming that there will be more strict security measures on the way because of this, and that they probably won't help anyway. He goes on to say, it's hard to imagine this latest leak having much of an impact on the launch of the game, which has already broken pre-order records. And I gotta say, this is definitely true. I don't think this is hurting. I think it's only helping. He says the leak may undercut the Netflix reveal, which was supposed to be the first time that anyone saw gameplay. But for the most part, watching these clips is just a reminder that for all the aggressive hype and wild sales expectations, GTA 6 looks like a GTA game. I don't really agree with this though. Like, of course GTA 6 looks like a GTA game, but the Red Dead influence cannot be understated. From everything I've seen, this looks like a pretty different GTA game. The article says, following the first leak 4 years ago, Rockstar implemented a host of stringent security protocols that would ostensibly prevent this kind of security breach. The company called developers back to the office 5 days a week and put an end to remote work, preventing the Grand Theft Auto 6 team from using their tools or accessing builds while not at their desks. And well, I think I found the problem. They were letting people work on GTA 6 from home. I mean, I understand this game was developed during COVID as well, but I had a job during COVID and I didn't get to work from home. It continues by saying this was a controversial decision that led to a lot of grumbling among Rockstar developers across the globe. The problem wasn't just that they had to pivot away from their previous hybrid schedule and come in 5 days a week, it was a total lack of flexibility for remote work, which made it impossible for someone to, say, take a child to a midday doctor's appointment and then spend the rest of the day working from home. For some at Rockstar, it's particularly frustrating that despite these security measures, this has happened again. Am I crazy, or is that analogy just super unrealistic? If you have to take your kid to a midday doctor's appointment, then take half a day off or something. But if you're working on a highly classified project, then I don't expect you to just be able to work from home. I really disagree with it being a controversial decision to make people go back to the office. But mostly, I absolutely despise how much COVID broke everybody's brains. The article goes on to say, in the meantime, developers are continuing to work on Grand Theft Auto 6, which isn't yet finished but is getting close, as it barrels towards its November 19th release date. And I suspect this just means they're doing the absolute last bit of polishing on the game. There's no way it's not basically finished by now. One quick headline I wanted to read was, malware disguised as leaked GTA 6 copies are popping up on piracy sites. Please do not download anything like this. Now, possibly the biggest question in this whole thing is if CyberLeak actually has a build of the game. And so I wanted to do some reasons for yes and reasons for no, or at least very limited. So under yes, of course, we have the in-engine signature that he did with the leak thing. So far, we have 2 cherry-pick cutscenes that just kind of, they really have to do with the situation. He has pretty consistent gameplay. It really looks like it's been like the same person playing. He keeps showing specific features off on purpose, it seems. There is the whole selling exclusive access angle too, and then there's the fact that he just says he does. Under reasons for no or very limited, we have the fact that he has only shown Jason so far. No Lucia gameplay. However, in the 9th leak, he does kind of allude to Lucia coming soon. And by the way, there have been 10 video leaks as of making this video. And all of them have been short, cut-up clips, which might mean they were recorded before and then, cut up later. And then the last thing I wonder is, how would it still work? Because wouldn't it be login protected? I mean, I really have no idea how it would work. So if you do, maybe let me know in the comments. As far as Take-Two subpoenas, they have sent out quite a few. Microsoft got one for GitHub, Discord got one because they always do, Google got one for YouTube accounts, and Twitter got one for likely a fake account. So I don't know what that guy was thinking. And real fast, I do want to talk about the three main players in this and what I think about it. Starting with Netflix. I think Netflix absolutely loves this. They are working with not only gaming's biggest launch, but just the biggest launch in media ever. They're standing right next to gaming's most prestige developer. And I say prestige because of their track record of games, not because of their recent business practices. They are trying to kill this title as quick as possible. And they have exclusive rights for 6 hours on a trailer for the biggest ongoing story in gaming right now, which doesn't seem to be slowing down. Now, Rockstar and Take-Two. As I mentioned, I don't think this will change basically anything for sales, but this isn't how they wanted this to happen. They spent 13 years in secrecy about this game. They dealt with leaks before and tried to fix it, and now they potentially have a PC build in the wild 3 months before launch. This is basically a nightmare scenario for them, and I gotta say, maybe don't wait this long to show us stuff. CyberLeak would have way less traction if you just communicated. The fact that people are willing to pay over $160,000 to look at exclusive footage is entirely preventable. I want to point out that Rockstar announced the Netflix event on August 6th. Did they really need 3 weeks to build up hype for this? It's fucking GTA 6. A 2-day window would have been fine. Announce it on Thursday, release it on Saturday. But no, this is the digital future they asked for. And as for CyberLeak, I think this is a highly skilled group of people. I don't think it's one person. And they seem very confident that they won't be caught. I'd say they likely have a build from a beta version of the game. And as for motives, I mean, money is definitely one of them, but the whole saving the gaming community, that might be too, but we just don't really know. I think they went into this knowing the risks, and I just hope they don't leak big story stuff, because that would suck. That would be not cool. But yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. If you want to buy a mug, they're linked below. Thanks to all the doodles on the board that have signed up, and have a good day.